Excuse me, I have something to say. This is the podcast where we have real and open conversations about life and everything it throws our way. I'm your host, Shaun Philip Naylor, and you can join me each episode as I talk with inspiring people who also have something to say. You can also join in on the conversations by contacting me directly through the show's official social channels, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok at excuseme_pod, Facebook and YouTube, search Excuse Me I Have Something to Say, or visit our official website, excusemeihavesomethingtosay.com. As always, all links are embedded into the show notes for you, and don't forget to click on that subscribe button. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts, remember you can rate and review the show there. Trick or treat! Surprise! Happy Halloween! It is me, Shaun Philip Naylor, host of your favourite podcast, Excuse Me. I have something to say, and I do. I have a very special little Halloween treat for all of you. Today is the day. It is Halloween. It is the day to be spooky, and I have a little spooky treat. So those of you who listened to the latest episode of the podcast, our Halloween special with our beautiful guest, amazing guest, Amy Lucivero, she and I went down a little bit of a deep dive into the history of the modern witch, I suppose. We talked about the Salem witch trials, and all of that is absolutely great, educational and fun-filled episode. So if you haven't listened to that, go do that after this one. But this lovely little special Halloween treat for you is a section of our conversation which made it to the cutting room floor that I thought was just too good to pass up. So in this very mini little episode of Excuse Me, Amy and I are going to share with you a couple of personal ghost stories. So enjoy. I'm a big believer in energy, and I think, if we're going to it's Halloween, it's the Halloween episode. If we're going to get spooky, let's get spooky. So talking about energy. So in our personal life, which I'm probably going to get told off for sharing, but Benny's been going through some stuff and it's really taken a toll on his mental health. And, he's having to, reprogram himself to a certain degree. And, it's taken its toll physically, mentally, and just the energy in the house is different. And there's always been weird stuff that follows me around that happens. And I just put it down to, it's this, I saw something out of the corner of my eye. It's just whatever. It's, it's nothing. But recently, with everything that he's been going through, he's not been sleeping. And he's not been sleeping well. And so I'd get up in the middle of the night and he'd be out of the bed and he's on the couch. And so most nights I'd go and see if he's awake or whatever and say, come back to bed. And this one night, terrifying, he is asleep on the couch. I'm going to the bathroom. So I walk through the house. I'm like, yeah, go to the toilet. On my way back, he's snoring on the couch. Like he's asleep. And I'm like, I'm not going to wake him because he hasn't slept properly in days. And he's fast asleep. And I come back through the house and I stop at the fridge. I'm like, yeah, kind of thirsty. It's like 3 a.m, whatevs. And I take a drink. I know, 3 a.m. That's the witching hour, people. That's the witching hour. So many weird things have happened to me at 3 a.m. But at this 3 a.m, he's asleep, snoring his brains off. I'm having a drink at the fridge from the bottle because I'm a pig of a human. And I swear to God, behind my right ear, really, really close, I heard somebody say, "Help me."
Oh my God.
And I didn't know what to do. I kind of just froze for a second. And it was behind me. Benny's like a room ahead of me, in front of me, snoring. And I didn't know what to do. And randomly, I just went, "Did you say something, babe?" Of course he didn't say anything. He's asleep. And so I noped myself out of there. I was like, nope, put the thing back in the fridge, went over and woke him up. And I was like, you need to come to bed. And he was like, what? And I was like, something weird just happened. You need to come to bed. And he was like, okay. So he came to bed, couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep this time. And then eventually he got to sleep and everything was fine. Told him about it the next day. Then a couple of days later, we were getting back from from doing some shopping. We were putting the shopping away. I'm in the kitchen. He's opening the door to the garage, and he turns around and goes, "Did you say something?"
Oh
I was
my
like,
goodness.
"I know." I was like, "No," and he goes, "You didn't just say Ali's name, so Ali, my stepdaughter." And I was like, "Nope." And he was like, "I swear to God, you just said Ali's name behind me." And I'm like, "I'm over here, dude. I didn't say anything." So then we kind of didn't really think anything of it. And then one night I got home from work and I was really grumpy and I wanted a bottle of wine and he didn't get any wine. So we were like, go get wine. So he went to get wine and then I'm in the living room and the dogs start barking. Dexter starts barking. And then I hear someone tell him off. Somebody's voice just went, "Dexter." And Dexter stopped barking. And I was like, oh, it must be Benny. He must be coming up the driveway. And the dogs are barking and he's telling them off because it's dark out. And then I waited like 5 minutes. He never came in. And then I went out into the driveway and I was like, hello? Not there. And then when he came back, I was like, were you here before? He's like, nope. And I was like, somebody just told off the dog. Like, it's a helpful ghost. I'm into that. Like, thank you. And it was just so weird. And then my sister, like a couple of weeks went by, my sister came down from Brisbane and her and my mum went to Carrara Markets and they met this witch type person, I think it's called the Witch of Moon Lane. And they were telling them about what was going on. And they were like, you need to sage the house. So they bought this whole like saging kit and we saged the house that day. And we followed all the instructions, did everything right. As we were doing it, my sister was behind me. I walked out of my bedroom and I had to stop her and I was like, did you just touch me? For the listeners, Amy's pulling a scared face.
Yeah, I've got goosebumps, so thank you.
But yeah, I was like, did you just touch me? She was like, no. I was like, you didn't just graze my leg. She was like, no, not me. And then we carried on going around the house. And then we went through Ethan's room. And as we were coming out of Ethan's room, Kim stopped and she was like, did you hear that? I was like, nope, didn't hear anything. She was like, something just moved in the cupboard. And I was like, no, I didn't. Anyway, saged the house. Everything was fine. And then that night, the dogs were so peaceful and calm. Noises that would normally make them bark, nothing. And I posted something to Facebook, on my Facebook, and I was like, oh, I'm a witch now. I've saged my house. And a friend of mine who lives in New Zealand who does psychic readings responded and he said something along the lines of like, it was a really good thing to do. It was an old man. And I didn't know if he meant it was an old man for my situation. So I clarified. I was like, did you mean that there was an old man in my house? And he said, yeah, I have a visual of him leaving the house. He says, thank you.
Oh.
Which the voice that started it that said, help me in my ear sounded like an old man.
Crazy. What a story.
Isn't that a great story? Terrifying. And then now anytime there's like some bad juju or bad energy in the house, we're like, should we sage again?
Just do it anyway. Good energy. Yeah.
Exactly. We had an argument yesterday and I'm like, sage. What about you? Have you got any weird experiences you can't explain? Anything witchy, ghosty?
I've had lots of weird experiences, but we had not quite a few, but we had 3 family members die around the same time. Sounds awful to talk about, but that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the story that I think I might open with is my great uncle. So very Italian. He was also deaf, so he couldn't hear anything, but he couldn't really speak either. But he loved being around the family. He just loved all of us great grand nieces and my dad and my dad's brothers and sisters. And years after he passed, like 10, 12 years later, we were doing Christmas at home with my parents, and my dad had woken up really early and was sitting out on the balcony. And my sisters, sassy little things they are, woke up and went to go say Merry Christmas to Dad, and they saw someone on the balcony and they were like, 6:30 in the morning, why does Dad have friends over? And they stormed back to their bedrooms because they didn't want people seeing them in their pajamas.
Understandable.
And then like an hour and a half later, Dad came inside and Katrina's like, why do you have friends over? It's Christmas morning. Dad's like, no one's over.
Oh my God.
And Katrina was like, no, someone was there. He was wearing like this color jacket, this color hat, this color like shirt, like could visualize everything. And Dad's like, there's no one here. Like I was out there by myself. And my sister gave the description to my mom, and my mom's like, that's your great uncle Carlo. Like that's what he used to
Holy
wear.
moly,
He
you
would
gave
have
me
just been like,
goosebumps.
like just loving Christmas morning with my dad. And I just thought it was so sweet.
Oh, that's a beautiful story.
It was very sweet. Talking about it now, I'm just like, there's so much love for that that man in the family as well, that he just wanted to be there.
Oh, my grandmother died last year, just over a year ago, and the year before that, she was here on the Gold Coast for a few weeks, and it was the last time any of us here saw her. And a couple of years before that, Benny and I were in England, and she met Benny for the first time, and she really likes Benny. And she gave him a gift, and she gave me a gift, and the gift was a gold chain. And I don't wear that sort of thing, but it's from my grandmother, so obviously we'll cherish it and love it and keep it in a safe place. Now, her husband, my grandfather, who passed away before I was born, he had this necklace, gold necklace as well, and it was a tiger's claw, and it was embedded in Indian gold, and he got it years and years ago when he was traveling the world. And my dad always had it, so after his dad passed away, he gave it to him. And when I was a kid, I remember playing with it all the time, and I loved it. And then I think it was like my 15th birthday, my dad had it put onto a new chain and had it sort of redone and gave it to me as a birthday gift, and I still love it and adore it. I used to wear it all the time. Now I don't. So now it lives in, all right, this is gonna, if nobody knew I was gay before, you're going to know now. It lives in a plastic jewelry box from the Disney store, which is Belle's thing with the rose in it from Beauty and the Beast. And when you open the drawer, the rose opens up and it lights up, and it lights up red, and it goes, na, 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 like in the Beauty and the Beast. So super gay. I love it. And I put my granddad's necklace that I have inherited, I keep that in that little jewelry box. And then I put Nana's necklace in it too. So the two necklaces of my grandparents that I've inherited live in there. And then the week my grandmother passed away, in the middle of the night, it opened.
Oh my goodness.
Not the act, like it didn't pull out, but the flower opened and the room lit up red, because it lights up red and it's pitch black, and the Beauty and the Beast song played. And I was like, what the and just put it down to nothing. I was like, that's nothing, whatever. And then a couple of nights later, the same thing happened again. And all I like, obviously we find comfort where we find comfort. And I was just like, you know what? This is Nana just maybe saying goodbye, or just letting me know that she's okay. I don't know. But that, I mean, we find ways to deal with these sorts of things. But yeah, that's a lovely kind of ghostly story that I have. Are you ready for another terrifying one?
Go for it.
So
I just want to sleep later. It's funny because I look like this and then get scared of little ghost stories.
So one night I'd gone to bed. I went to bed before Benny. He stayed up and he was watching TV. I'm fast asleep, and then he comes to bed. I wake up in the middle of the night. Guess what time?
AM.
I think it was like 3:15 or something AM, but definitely in that hour. And I've got my back to Benny, so I'm facing the outside of the bed, but my back is also to the door, so I'm like facing a window. And I'm laying there, and I'm like, I wake up and I go, oh, there's a weird energy in the room. And I'm wide awake. My eyes are wide awake, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I feel like if I turn around, there's going to be someone here.
Oh.
And I sat there for ages. I laid there for ages. And then eventually I was like, gotta roll over. I rolled over, and there was a woman standing by the side of the bed, plain as day, looking at Benny, like standing over Benny, just staring at him, no interest in me whatsoever. And she's randomly wearing a zip-up Adidas tracksuit. It's white with the three black stripes and the Adidas logo on it. very Sporty Spice of her, also went with her Sporty Spice hair. So she had really, really blonde hair, but it was up in a high ponytail. And that was it. I sat there and I looked at her, and it felt like a lifetime. I was just looking at her, looking at him. And I was like, this is so weird. And I couldn't roll over because I was like, if I roll over to turn the light on, she'll be gone. But in the end, I had to roll over to turn the light on. So I turned the light on, obviously rolled over. She was gone. Woke Benny up, and I was like, hey, there was someone in the room. And he's like, what? And I'm like, there was somebody just standing at the side of the bed looking at you. And then he was like, no, it's nothing. And eventually we went back to sleep. Like, I didn't feel fearful or anything. So I was going back to sleep wasn't too hard. Also, these sorts of things happen to me all the time. So I'm kind of used to it. And we went back to sleep, woke up the next morning, and I was saying to him, is this someone you know? Maybe it's somebody, does that image sound like somebody you went to school with or something? Maybe someone's in trouble and they're visiting you. I don't know. And he was like, no, none of that makes any sense. He goes, but when I got into bed with you last night, the bed was vibrating. Keep all your jokes aside. And he said that he touched me to see if I was shivering, like maybe it was someone I don't know, but maybe I had a hot sweat or something. But he was like, touched me to see if I was shivering. He was like, you were deathly still. So that's a concern. I was deathly still. But he ended up doing nothing, but just being like, oh, well, that's weird. Like, whatever.
Anyway.
Yeah. There you go. But yet, how weird is that? Like because he had that weird experience, and energy is vibrations and all of these things. So that was just a really weird thing. And it happens now. Like a couple of nights ago, he woke up in the middle of the night, and I was fast asleep. But then the next morning he was like, I felt like there was somebody there. He was like, the Adidas lady is back. She's affectionately known as the Adidas lady. But yeah, like weird stuff. Rochelle, who was on the last Halloween special, she and her partner came and they stayed with us a little while back. They're in Tasmania now, living their best lives, by the way. So jealous. But yeah, they came and they stayed, and Rochelle and I were in the living room, both sitting on the couch, and she kept looking behind her into the study. And I was like, is everything okay? She was like, yeah, I just keep thinking I see someone in there. I'm like, you probably do, hun. My sister doesn't like to stay in this house. She's like, every time she comes here, she's like, I can't. And that's the room that she doesn't like to go near.
Maybe you're a medium.
Maybe. I think I'm a large at the minute, thanks to the COVID weight. Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, see, I don't even know if I believe in that. I believe in something. I don't know. I just believe in what I see. But it's weird stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I can't explain it. And then when I do try to rationalize these things, I'm like, oh, you know what? Well, I just woken up. But then with the lady by the side of the bed, I've been awake for ages.
Yeah. No, I definitely think if you are open to seeing or experiencing things, that it will come to you, whether it's in different little things that pop up every now and then, like the jewelry box, or whether you're actually physically seeing somebody. I think if you're open to it, that it will come.
Well, they got to stop coming at 3 a.m. Girls got to get some sleep.
But that's the time.
So guys, that is all from this year's Halloween special. I hope you've enjoyed playing along through the socials, listening to the full episode, and now enjoying this special little bonus content. It is always a pleasure to bring you guys knowledge and information and research about anything that is particularly spooky, like witches. So tune in next Halloween for the next special. But until then, I'll see you guys in a week or so with some new content for the podcast. And until then, stay safe, look after each other, and happy Halloween.